A sinister assassin ravages a 7-year-old girl. Can her mother and doctors figure out what it is before it's too late?
I was in shock at that point. I thought, my daughter is going to die.
A normal day on the factory floor ends with a machinist fighting for his sight.
This is freaking me out. If this goes to my other eye, I'm looking at the possibility of being blind.
And an unknown killer attacks a team of doctors and threatens to leave them for dead.
Something's going on here. It's not just me. We needed help.
3 very sinister parasites that are brilliantly adapted to life inside the human body. They are vicious. They are wily. They are shapeshifters. Parasites are organisms that depend on other living organisms called hosts for their food and survival. And some of the most successful parasites are capable of surviving in a range of different environments. In the air we breathe, the food we eat, and in the ground we walk on. And as their environment changes, so do the parasites.
All parasites need to be able to take advantage of their hosts. But some parasites can't do that when they're first ingested. It's only after they go through a complete physical transformation that they become a threat.
And when these shapeshifters do change form, they can devastate a host from the inside before the host even knows they're there. Gainesville, Florida. In 1997, Lori Roberts is a 42-year-old court reporter living with her daughter, Manisha.
We love living in Florida because of the weather. We don't like cold weather. We like to swim, take the dogs for walks. It's just a lot of fun.
Adopted as a toddler, Manisha is a bright and healthy 7-year-old who enjoys school and playing with her friends.
Manisha is very, very sociable. She loves people. She loves being around people. Happy, go lucky.
But their luck is about to change. One night in April, Lori is setting the table for dinner when Manisha says something that worries her.
She said, "Mommy, my head hurts." So I said, "Where does your head hurt?" And she pointed to right here. It hurts like right here. And she was very specific about where it hurt. She was so very insistent. It's like my heart skipped a beat. I felt like something might be wrong, and I was worried.
Lori takes her daughter to the doctor. The physician examines Manisha, but doesn't find anything wrong, and sends them home. But Lori isn't convinced.
It was just she was so young. She was 7 years old, and I didn't know of any 7-year-olds that had headaches. So the fact that she was very insistent about her head hurting caused me concern.
A few weeks later, Lori and Manisha are out watching an ice skating show. 20 minutes into the performance, Lori notices that something strange is happening to her daughter.
I noticed she was looking over at a corner of the gymnasium, and there was nothing there, and I thought, what is she looking at? And then I noticed beside her there was a pool of water or something. I thought, oh, she spilled her drink, and then I looked again and realized she'd gone to the bathroom. I kind of tried to shake her, and she didn't move.
Lori carries her daughter to the lobby, where a bystander immediately calls 911. Manisha remains totally unresponsive.
She did not move at all. She did not blink. And by that point, I realized something is really, really wrong.
10 minutes later, the ambulance arrives and rushes Manisha to nearby Shands Hospital.
They started asking me, has this ever happened? Does she have a medical condition? And of course, all those answers were no. I was so scared. I had no idea what could have caused it. At that point. I thought, my daughter is going to die.
By now, Manisha has been unconscious for almost half an hour.
It was the longest 20, 30 minutes of my life that I've ever lived through.
Pediatric neurologist Dr. Paul Carney is called in to examine Manisha.
Manisha was presenting with spells or fits, and they turned out to be seizures. She had never had seizures before, so this was concerning.
When Manisha finally starts to regain consciousness, Dr. Carney makes a telling observation.
What was actually quite revealing was that her head turned to the left and her eyes turned to the left. The right brain controls the left body, the left brain controls the right body. So something was going on in the right frontal brain. Did she have an infection in the brain? Did she have something that was being caused by a bacteria, or was it a brain tumor?
Dr. Carney orders a battery of tests, including a CT scan of Manisha's brain. The results are not good.
She had a very, very well-defined lesion in the right frontal region. You could sort of see the outline of something that looked very odd. There appeared to be a very small structure. It almost looked like a head of something.
Something is lurking inside Manisha's head. The question is what?
And I remember just looking at her laying there and wondering what was going on in her head. Just that tremendous fear, knowing that something was wrong.
The scan is so unusual that Dr. Carney seeks a second opinion. He sends the images to Dr. Margaret Hostetter, a leading infectious disease specialist at Yale University.
We were able to review all the scans that had been done in Florida. We could see that it was a walled lesion with fluid inside.
The unusual appearance of the lesion gives Dr. Hostetter a clue as to the cause of Manisha's seizure. But to be certain, she needs to perform more comprehensive tests.
I said, you know, I don't mind bringing Manisha up there if that would help you. And she said, that would be wonderful. We could actually do some very detailed cuts on the MRI. And so we immediately made our plane tickets to fly up to Yale, like within a week. I mean, this is my baby. I was terrified. I was afraid I was going to lose her.
Seven-year-old Manisha Roberts has suffered a massive seizure. Doctors have no idea why. Desperate to find out what is wrong with her daughter, Manisha's mother, Lori, turns to infectious disease expert Dr. Margaret Hostetter of Yale University. For the next 3 days, Dr. Hostetter and her team subject Manisha to a battery of tests. Finally, Dr. Hostetter calls Lori into her office.
I sat down and she looked at me and she said, I've gone over all the tests. She said, based on my experience, based on my knowledge, I feel very, very confident that this is what she has.
Really, the presentation is most consistent with neurocysticercosis.
Neurocysticercosis is a life-threatening condition caused by the pork tapeworm parasite. The pork tapeworm has a distinctive head marked by a double ring of sharp hooks. When it gets into a human, it uses these hooks to burrow through tissue. Once in the bloodstream, it can travel to the brain, where it forms a protective casing around itself called a cyst, where it can live for several years. As the cyst grows, it puts pressure on the brain, causing seizures. Left untreated, these seizures can result in brain damage, coma, or even death.
I was in shock. I couldn't talk, I couldn't think. I was very, very worried about what was going to happen.
Manisha's doctors immediately start her on a course of antiparasitic drugs. As they wait to see if the drugs are effective, they're left with one unanswered question. How did the parasite end up in Manisha's brain in the first place?
A person can get pork tapeworm 2 different ways. If they get it from eating undercooked infected pork, they get a worm in their gut. But if they get it from eating soil that's contaminated with eggs, things are much worse.
While the adult worm can feed in the gut, it cannot burrow out. But if an egg is ingested, it can become a larva. The larva can burrow through tissue and form cysts.
And if those cysts occur in the brain, that can be deadly.
Because the worm is lodged in Manisha's brain, the doctors think she became infected through ingesting water or soil contaminated with pork tapeworm eggs, or through contact with an infected person. And when Lori tells the doctors that Manisha was adopted from Nepal at age 3, the link to the parasite becomes clear.
In parts of the world where sanitation is not very good, up to 6% of the population harbor this parasite.
I think it's extremely likely that Manisha got this very early in life, perhaps in toddlerhood.
The parasite has been laying dormant in Manisha's brain for years.
I just couldn't imagine that a parasite could be in her brain for 4.5 years and not even show any symptoms of it until very recently.
Six months later, back in Florida, Manisha completes her full course of medication. And Lori brings her back to Dr. Carney's office to see if it's worked.
We were fairly convinced after repeated brain MRIs that the worm was killed. She's had no further seizures, and she should have an excellent outcome.
Today, Manisha is a 19-year-old college student majoring in psychology. Her childhood bout with a parasite has left no lasting damage.
Honestly, I never had the thought of how serious the situation was. I didn't realize that this worm could have killed me.
After Manisha's recovery, Lori adopts her second daughter, Joy, from Vietnam.
The day she was handed to me, I took her to the doctor's office and I said, I want her dewormed because the chances are good that we could have avoided all of this had Manisha been dewormed.
In spite of the ordeal, the experience has given Manisha a unique perspective on life.
If I had not been adopted and I was still in Nepal, I would have died from this tapeworm. But the fact that I was brought over here and they caught on to what it was and they were able to get rid of it is an amazing thing.
In the U.S., about 1,000 people each year are found to be harboring the pork tapeworm parasite. In most of those cases, the initial infection occurred overseas. Travelers to less developed countries should be sure to drink bottled water, eat food that is prepared in sanitary conditions, and avoid undercooked pork.
The pork tapeworm goes through several different stages in its life cycle. It lives as an adult worm, as a larva, as an egg, and as a cyst. And it's the fact that it goes through these radical transformations that makes this parasite the ultimate shapeshifter.
The pork tapeworm can live inside its host for years without detection. But other parasites make their presence known immediately. And when they do, the results can be disastrous. In 2009, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. 45-year-old John Matthews and his wife Muna share a love of the outdoors. John is an avid turkey hunter, an expert marksman.
I love being out there in the outdoors. To see everything, I guess, wake up in the morning.
he's not out in the woods hunting, he thinks about being out in the woods hunting. So he definitely has turkey on the brain.
You've got to get out there and try to figure out what the turkeys are doing, trying to fool Mother Nature, I guess.
But John has no idea that he is about to become the target of an enemy he can't see. One day in early December, John is at the manufacturing plant where he works.
I noticed all these gray splotches all over my vision. I thought that I had something maybe on my eye, so I started rubbing, and that didn't take care of it. It was hard to make out anything in any kind of detail, much like looking through a muddy lens. It was pretty alarming to me. I've never had problems with my eyes.
John calls his optometrist and makes an appointment for the following day.
I'm pretty anxious, hoping that she's gonna be able to figure out what it is and just fix it.
The optometrist performs a series of eye tests. John's right eye is perfectly fine. But when she looks into his left eye, she sees that the back of his eye is inflamed.
She asked me if I did any heavy lifting, like every day at work. And she said, well, I think maybe you broke a blood vessel.
Broken blood vessels in the eye are not uncommon and usually heal on their own. But to help reduce the inflammation, John's optometrist places him on a course of steroid eye drops.
Knowing that it was just inflammation put my mind at ease. Okay, this is going to be taken care of. Everything's going to be just great.
1 week later, John is in the car with Muna when a new symptom emerges.
One is driving, and I look a couple blocks ahead of us at the stoplights, and I said to her, I see 2 stoplights.
He goes, yeah, he goes, I can see the real one, and then I see a smaller ghosted image, but I see 2 distinct images.
The splotches was bad enough, but now I've got double vision. All of this from a broken blood vessel? What's going on here?
"45-year-old machinist John Matthews is experiencing blurriness and double vision. His family eye doctor is stumped and sends John to a specialist. Dr. Charles Barnes is an ophthalmologist at the Wolf Eye Clinic in Iowa City.
John was referred by his optometrist, who had noticed a part of the retina in the back of his eye was a little swollen. We call this uveitis. Uveitis is inflammation inside the eye.
Dr. Barnes begins by having John read a simple eye chart.
The right eye is still 20/20, and everything looks good in there. But my left eye, I'm looking at the eye chart, and all I can see is the bright white light.
And I'm thinking, I can't believe you can't see the one big letter.
It was a big shock to me. Both eyes had been 20/20.
But Dr. Barnes has bad news about John's left eye.
His vision was down to 2200. At 2200 vision, you're legally blind.
When Dr. Barnes looks inside John's eyes, there's more bad news.
We dilated his eyes and noticed that the retina in his left eye had a very different appearance. It had kind of a grainy appearance.
The retina is a thin film of nervous tissue that lines the back of the eye and is crucial to central vision. The grainy appearance suggests that something is destroying John's retina. But what is it?
This is freaking me out. If this goes to my other eye, I'm looking at the possibility of being blind.
Dr. Barnes is stumped, so he puts in an urgent call to a colleague, Dr. James Falk. the chair of the Department of Ophthalmology at the University of Iowa, and a leading eye surgeon in the state.
Dr. Barnes was worried about the patient because he had had symptoms for just about 3 weeks, and he already was legally blind in this eye. We were under the gun to try to figure out what was happening, because we knew if we didn't, he was eventually going to lose vision in that eye.
Dr. Falk takes high-resolution photographs of the entire retina. He searches each image for clues. And it's not long before he finds the culprit.
I pulled up this color photo and looked, and there and behold was a worm. It was just a shock.
A worm? How does this happen?
What do you say? John and I are thinking, oh my God, it's eating his eye. We're looking at each other in disbelief. At what point was this going to start to happen with his other eye?
But before Dr. Falk can begin treatment, he must identify the worm.
You go by the size of the worm. And this was about a 1.5 millimeter worm. So we thought this was the raccoon roundworm.
The raccoon roundworm, also known as Balis ascaris, is a parasitic worm that can grow up to 20 centimeters long. When the eggs of the raccoon roundworm get into the human stomach, they start to hatch. Microscopic larvae emerge and burrow through the intestinal wall and into the bloodstream. The larvae course through the body, looking for food. If they lodge in the eye, they start devouring the eye from the inside out, eventually causing blindness. And it's not just John's vision that's threatened by the raccoon roundworm.
As larvae, raccoon roundworms can travel anywhere in the human body. And if they get to the brain, even 1 or 2 larvae can be enough to kill.
The worm's ability to migrate through the body makes it particularly dangerous.
These worms, at least these larger worms, can move pretty quickly.
If the worm moves out of sight, they'll lose their chance to kill it.
We immediately took John right back to the laser, put a lens on him, and started banging away at the worm, trying to kill it.
John is awake and can see the worm on a monitor.
I can see it wiggling, trying to avoid the laser. I'm trying to will that laser to hit it. I want this thing dead.
Tapeworms in the brain are the world's leading cause of C, epileptic seizures. 45-year-old John Matthews has a worm feeding on his eye. To save his vision, doctors must laser the worm before it moves out of range.
I'm trying to will that laser to hit it.
After 20 minutes, the worm finally stops moving.
They tell me the worm is dead. It was the greatest relief. It's dead. Wow, okay. How soon do I get my vision back?
While John waits for his prognosis, the doctors ponder another mystery. How did this parasite end up in John's eye? Dr. Falk finds a clue in John's lifestyle that links him to the parasite.
He likes turkey hunting. You know, he's out in the woods a lot. He's around wild animals a lot. Maybe he got a little bit on his glove, took his glove off with his mouth or something. And we think that's how he got it.
Finally, the doctors arrive to give John his prognosis.
You can't really regenerate the retina. Once parts of the retina are gone, they're gone.
As far as my vision coming back, that's not going to happen. I'm told that there is too much damage, that what I've got is all I'll have. Happen again. I'm not going to stop living.
It's estimated that 70% of the raccoons in North America are infested with this parasite, which suggests that people come into contact with it all the time.
However, cases of infection in humans are extremely rare. To avoid getting this parasite, people who work or play in areas populated by raccoons should wash their hands thoroughly after spending time outdoors.
At different stages of its life cycle, the raccoon roundworm faces very different challenges. As an egg, it has to survive dormant in a very harsh environment for long periods of time. And as a larva, it migrates to the tissues of an animal. And it's the ability to do both of these successfully that makes this parasite the ultimate shapeshifter.
The raccoon roundworm is extremely common in North America. Other parasites are less common, but when they do find their way here, they can be just as deadly. California, 1997. Robert Welty is a 41-year-old anesthesiologist with a love of travel and a commitment to charitable work.
I traveled extensively, 1 or 2 trips a year, a group performing reconstructive surgery on children with cleft lips and burns all around the world. Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Asia, as well as in South America.
When he's not traveling, Robert works at Cottage Hospital in idyllic Santa Barbara. He has no idea that a vicious enemy is lurking, waiting to attack. It's late April, and Robert is getting up to go to work.
It's about 5 in the morning. I had to be in the operating room by 7 o'clock. In anesthesia, if you don't show up, the whole machine stops.
But before he can even get out of bed, Robert is hit with a pain in his stomach.
I woke up with explosive diarrhea, cramping, bloating. I didn't know how I was going to get to work, but had to try and push through and do it.
After the first surgery, Robert is too sick to continue and heads back home.
I crawled into bed and I wanted to climb under a rock. All of a sudden now I was having just extreme fatigue, like where you can barely raise a limb. I was feeling bloated and just counting off minutes till I would run back to the bathroom. Like most physicians, I made the error of trying to self-treat.
Robert treats himself with antibiotics and anti-diarrheal medicine for relief.
I immediately popped some Cipro, thinking I had some sort of simple traveler's diarrhea, and started taking Imodium to slow the bowels.
But Robert isn't the only one who's ill.
My fiance called me, and she thought she was coming down with something too. We kept obsessing over what had we had in the last day or two, and couldn't come up with anything.
Robert spends the next 2 days in bed, hoping that his symptoms will improve. Then, almost 3 days after he first got sick, he gets an unexpected phone call from his coworker, Ruth.
So Sunday night, I got a call from Ruth Kais, who's a nurse, and she had known I went home Friday. And she called to tell me that her husband, who is also an anesthesiologist, had fallen ill with GI symptoms. Now, this was interesting because Ruth's husband was an anesthesiologist in another group at another hospital. We had no common contact on a daily basis.
Ruth isn't the only one to report that people in the medical community are getting sick. On Monday morning, news comes in from a colleague in neighboring Ventura County.
He revealed the shocking fact to me that there were a significant number of anesthesiologists in Ventura County who were also ill with gastrointestinal disease.
Robert's colleagues are now calling out sick in droves. Over 15 anesthesiologists in 2 different counties are mysteriously ill, and no one knows why. The local hospitals are forced to cancel surgeries. Meanwhile, Robert is getting sicker by the hour.
We needed help.
But what could be making the anesthesiologist so sick? Anesthesiologist Robert Welty is suffering from crippling stomach pains and diarrhea, and he's not alone. Over 15 anesthesiologists in 2 different counties are also mysteriously ill, and no one knows why.
We needed help.
Desperate to find out what is making his coworkers so sick, Robert reaches out to a trusted colleague.
I called Dr. Stephen Jose. He's an infectious disease expert, well known in the community. I told him, Steve, something's going on here. It's not just me, and it's not just the guys in my group. It's 16, 17, 20 anesthesiologists from 2 different counties.
Dr. Jose is shocked at how sick Robert and the other anesthesiologists have become.
I remember one physician ended up in the emergency room, and this person had to receive intravenous fluids in order to maintain their blood volume and maintain their blood pressure. And certainly people die of these sorts of illnesses because of profound dehydration.
By the end of the week, 29 anesthesiologists across 3 counties have fallen ill with the same symptoms. Dr. Jose immediately requests stool samples from all the sick anesthesiologists. But a complete analysis could take up to a week.
We were pretty desperate to figure out what it was so we could abort this epidemic as soon as possible.
One by one, the lab tests come back. But they're all negative. So Dr. Jose and the pathologists continue to search for the culprit. Meanwhile, the sick anesthesiologists are only getting worse.
My life was reduced to the size of my bed. I lived under the covers with no energy, no will to get up and do anything.
Enter Mary and Jean, the lab manager at Cottage Hospital. She too is baffled by the lab results.
Everything was negative. The parasite studies were negative, the Giardia and Cryptosporidium were negative, viral cultures were negative. Things weren't making sense.
Marion remembers an article that she once read in a medical journal.
The article that I had actually read was dealing with emerging parasitic diseases. And I tend to get excited with new organisms and emerging pathogens.
She suspects that one of these lesser-known organisms might be the culprit. However, the one that interests her is so rare in the U.S. that no test for it has been developed yet. So she develops one herself.
Within the first 10 slides, we found our first organism. And we were quite excited and yelled out, "Eureka!" and called Dr. Steve Jose down to look at it with us.
We looked under the microscope and could see this for the first time. I mean, it was dramatic to have an answer to the question, what was causing this?
This was the Cyclospora organism.
Cyclospora cayetanensis is a single-celled parasite that ravages the human gut. The parasite attaches to the lining of the small intestine. There, it forms a protective membrane around itself, preventing the host from absorbing nutrients. The immune system tries to eliminate the parasite, causing severe diarrhea and vomiting.
Left untreated, that ongoing diarrhea can cause severe dehydration. And that places stress on the circulatory system and the heart that ultimately can be fatal.
Robert has been experiencing constant diarrhea for over a week, and there is no end in sight.
Cyclospora wasn't on my radar. I don't think I had heard about that since medical school. But we learned a lot about it, and it all fit the picture perfectly.
Dr. Jose prescribes Robert an antibiotic called Bactrim to kill the parasite. But a crucial question remains. How did Robert and 28 other anesthesiologists get infected? Will they be able to find the source of the infection before this little-known killer goes on an even bigger rampage? Dr. Robert Welty and 28 other anesthesiologists in the Santa Barbara area have been infected by the little-known parasite Cyclospora. But how did they get this killer parasite? Robert is determined to track down the source of the outbreak. His investigation starts with the parasite itself. Cyclospora begins as a free-living cyst in water or soil. When the cyst is eaten by a human, it travels to the intestine. In the gut, the cyst breaks open, releasing 2 single-celled parasites. The microscopic parasites attach to the lining of the gut, where they grow and multiply, forming new cysts. The new cysts are passed back into the environment with human feces. There, the parasite lies in wait, ready to infect another victim. The most common way for the parasite to infect a human is through food contaminated with infected feces. Thinking that the sick anesthesiologist may have all eaten the same infected menu item, Robert asks the restaurant to provide a copy of the menu from that evening.
It was the usual banquet menu. There were choices for steak, fish, chicken, that sort of stuff. So I got that menu and distributed it to every anesthesiologist I could, and I asked them to circle what they had. So as those menus came back, it became obvious that the common ground that we all shared, including the spouses, was the dessert. A dessert containing raspberries and a raspberry sauce.
Robert discovers that the restaurant had imported the raspberries from Guatemala. In Guatemala, there's a common phenomenon called mal de mayo, or sickness in May, that is found in the country's human population. It occurs when heavy spring rains wash human waste over crops. If the feces is contaminated with Cyclospora and the crops aren't washed, infection can occur.
Cyclospora is endemic in less developed parts of the world, but outbreaks do occur in the United States. And when they do, it's because people eat infected produce that's been imported, like lettuce, basil, and raspberries.
Most people who buy raspberries at that time were not washing raspberries, including restaurants, because raspberries are very fragile. And if you wash raspberries, they tend to fall apart.
By the following week, Robert is completely cured. Today, Robert is philosophical about his ordeal.
You know, living in this town, you just never in your foggiest ideas would ever think you'd get a parasite like this. It just shows the interconnection of the whole world now with jet travel and the shipping of food. You can be anywhere, and this can track you down.
Cyclospora is successful because it's a shapeshifter. When it enters the body, it's inside a cyst that lets it get past the digestive juices of the stomach. And once it's past there, the cyst opens, releasing the parasites to wreak havoc on the intestines.
In the U.S., public health code now requires all restaurants to wash their produce. At home, the best way to avoid contracting this parasite is to thoroughly wash fresh produce.
Many parasites have an ability we could only dream of. They can radically change the shape of their bodies to suit their needs. As a result, these shapeshifters can take exactly what they need. And as their hosts, there's nothing we can do about it.
Have you ever wondered why the most reliable children aren't always the most successful? In this video, we delve into the hidden truths about family dynamics, caregiving, and the profound impact of how we treat our loved ones. You will discover why children who stay close may offer the greatest support in our later years, the crucial role of daughters-in-law and sons-in-law in maintaining family harmony, and how parental favoritism can shape relationships for a lifetime. Stay with us until the end to learn 3 powerful methods to change your fate and improve your family life, ensuring happiness and peace for you and your loved ones. Don't miss these essential insights that could transform the way you view and nurture your family relationships. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me. And if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. First truth. Truly reliable sons are often those without any achievements. In the journey of life, many parents naturally hope that their children will excel, whether it's in academics, career success, or financial independence. They proudly share stories of their children's accomplishments with friends and family, boasting about top grades, prestigious jobs, and high earnings. To them, these successful, high-achieving children are seen as the ones who will surely take care of them in their old age. But as time passes and life unfolds, the reality often doesn't align with these expectations. When these children grow up and pursue bigger dreams, leaving their hometowns and, in some cases, even crossing oceans to seek a better life abroad, a painful question lingers. Who will be there for the parents when they are old, frail, and in need of care? The heart-wrenching answer is, unfortunately, not always the children they once considered their greatest pride. It is often the case that those children who are less prominent in society, those whose achievements are less celebrated, end up being the ones who remain close. They may not have climbed the career ladder to dazzling heights, nor achieved the kind of success that turns heads at family gatherings, but they are the ones who stay rooted, close to home and available. Perhaps they didn't set off for distant lands or high-paying jobs, and perhaps they even ended up taking over their parents' modest professions. And when the time comes, when their parents can no longer manage day-to-day life on their own, it's these children, quietly present, who step in to care for them. It's not the glittering accolades or the prestigious degrees that matter most, but rather their steady, loyal presence. In the eyes of their aging parents, these children are their true heroes, even if the rest of the world doesn't see them that way. How many parents have found themselves facing the stark reality that their successful children, those who have built impressive lives far from home, are simply too far away, both physically and emotionally, to offer the kind of support they now need. These children, while living their independent and busy lives, may inadvertently leave their parents to face the cold grip of loneliness. Without the touch of a familiar hand, Without a voice to share the day's small joys and struggles, parents can feel abandoned, despite the distant success of their children. On the other hand, the child who may not have the world at their feet, who hasn't amassed wealth or titles, is often the one who is there to support their parents in small, daily matters, like bringing over a hot meal, helping them walk to the garden, or simply sitting with them in the quiet of a shared afternoon. They may not be able to offer much in material wealth, but what they give, their time, care, and love, is far more precious than anything money can buy. Even when they grumble or complain, these children do not turn their backs on their parents. They still carve out space in their lives, no matter how small, to care for the ones who once cared for them. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment one below to let me know that you are still here with me. Conversely, successful children, despite their impressive careers and large homes, often find themselves stretched thin. With demanding work schedules, endless meetings, and social commitments, it becomes increasingly difficult to make time for family. They may send money or even arrange for caregiving services. But deep down, we all know that money can never replace the warmth of human connection. No amount of material comfort can make up for the absence of a child's presence, the one thing elderly parents crave the most. What they long for isn't just care, it's love. It's not just someone to provide for their physical needs, but someone to fill their hearts with a sense of belonging and closeness that only family can offer. As we grow older, a saying that once seemed distant begins to resonate deeply. Neighbors are closer than distant relatives. It's easy to overlook the significance of this when we're young and able-bodied, but as old age sets in, the truth of it sinks in. The nearby child, the one who may not have achieved great societal success, becomes a lifeline. The simple act of bringing a meal, helping with a short walk, or spending a quiet moment together becomes a profound gift. It's in these small, tender moments that parents find the greatest comfort. And so, we come to understand a difficult truth. The children who have risen to great heights in the world may not always be the ones who are most dependable in caring for their aging parents. Sometimes, it's the child who stays behind, whose success is measured not in wealth or titles, but in love and devotion, who becomes the most reliable source of support. In the end, what truly matters is not what society deems a success, but the heartfelt connection between parents and children, the unspoken bond of love, loyalty, and presence. Parents may not always get what they expect from their children, but if they are lucky, they'll get what they truly need, a child who, no matter what, stays by their side. Second truth, no matter how good your children are, the attitude of your daughters-in-law and sons-in-law is important. When our children marry and begin to build families of their own, we, as parents, sometimes unconsciously create an invisible wall between our biological children and their spouses, whether it's our daughters-in-law or sons-in-law. It's easy to fall into the mindset that our children are the true members of the family, while their spouses are treated as outsiders, people we must tolerate but not truly embrace. This bias, although often unintentional, can lead to deep-seated family tensions, making it all too easy to overprotect our grown children, even when they no longer need such protection. But in doing so, we may unknowingly wound the very people who have stepped into our children's lives, those who, like us, only want to be loved and accepted. How often do we, as parents, push away the very people we need most, creating an environment of division rather than unity? When conflicts inevitably arise in the marriages of our children, our instinct as parents may be to defend our own flesh and blood. We might even go as far as to advise separation or divorce, convinced that our children deserve better. But what we often overlook is that in our later years, when we are no longer able to care for ourselves, it won't just be our biological children taking on the responsibility of looking after us. Without the cooperation, support, and goodwill of our daughters-in-law or sons-in-law, caring for us becomes an immense burden, one that can strain even the strongest family ties. It's easy to shield our children when they're young, but in old age, we come to realize how desperately we need the strength of an entire family, not just the children we raised. There's a saying that resonates deeply. Sons belong to their mothers, but daughters will not stay home forever. This simple phrase reminds us that family dynamics change over time, and we, as parents, must be willing to broaden our perspective to include our children's spouses. Our sons, who may have once relied on us, now have wives who shape their lives, just as our daughters have husbands who become their new partners in the journey of life. Clinging to the belief that only our children are the best and sidelining their spouses is a recipe for disaster. If we, as parents, fail to open our hearts, we risk creating an environment filled with tension, where even the most reliable children might start to pull away, influenced by the very spouses we failed to fully accept. The tight grasp we once held on our children may loosen, and we'll find ourselves left with distance, not closeness. Consider those difficult questions we often hear, such as, if both my mother and my wife were drowning, who should I save first? It's a dilemma that has no easy answer. These heart-wrenching scenarios highlight the impossible choice between two of the most important people in a man's life. The truth is, rather than forcing a child to choose between their parent and their spouse, the best path forward is one of cooperation, mutual understanding, and shared responsibility. When a daughter-in-law or son-in-law feels respected and valued as part of the family, they are far more likely to step up willingly and lovingly to help care for their aging in-laws. Respect is a two-way street, and it's only through mutual acceptance that families can truly come together in times of need. As we grow older, it's easy to fall into the trap of harboring grudges or resentment towards our daughters-in-law or sons-in-law for perceived slights or differences. We might feel they don't respect us enough, or that they aren't as committed to family as we would like. But instead of holding on to these negative emotions, we should take a step back and reflect on our attitudes and behaviors. Are we perhaps guilty of holding on to biases, of failing to treat them as true members of the family? It's essential to remember that emotions flow in multiple directions. Our expectations should never be one-sided. We must strive for understanding, empathy, and a willingness to bridge the gaps in our relationships, rather than placing blame. Even in our advanced years, when our bodies may no longer be as strong or capable, maintaining a positive, open-minded attitude can make all the difference. We can't control everything, but we can control how we approach our relationships. By showing respect and understanding to all family members, especially to our daughters-in-law and sons-in-law, we can create an environment of harmony and love. It's never too late to change. When we take the time to see things from their perspective, to appreciate the role they play in our children's lives, we become not just respected elders, but truly loved ones. Building strong, loving relationships with our children's spouses is one of the most important gifts we can give, not just to ourselves, but to our entire family. So, rather than complaining or feeling isolated, we should actively work on nurturing these relationships. Let's not view them as mere extensions of our children, but as individuals with their strengths, challenges, and contributions to the family. By fostering goodwill and cooperation, and by treating them with the same love and care we show our children, we help to build a family that stands united, even through the challenges of aging and illness. In the end, it's not the bloodlines that define a family's strength, but the bonds of love and mutual respect we nurture over time. And these bonds are the ones that will carry us through even when we can no longer walk this path alone. Third truth: the changes in parents manifest as consequences. As parents grow older and step into the autumn of their lives, the consequences of their past actions and decisions in raising their children begin to surface in profound ways. This is a season of life where they begin to harvest the fruits of their labor, the seeds they once planted through their words, actions, and treatment of their children. But often, it is here in the twilight years that parents may be confronted with uncomfortable truths. If they showed favoritism, unfairness, or neglect in the past, the consequences are likely to return, sometimes painfully, as they seek support from their children in old age. Children who were overly favored by their parents may grow up to be irresponsible, ungrateful, and ill-prepared for the challenges of adulthood. They might become overly reliant on their parents, lacking the independence or strength to stand on their own feet. Meanwhile, those children who were neglected or treated unfairly compared to their siblings might harbor deep feelings of resentment. These emotional wounds, often buried during childhood, can fester and lead to distance or even estrangement in adulthood. The emotional scars left by parental bias are not easily forgotten and often emerge later, at a time when parents most need their children's care and love. A poignant example of this truth is captured in the film Everything is Fine, where we witness the unraveling of a family that was never able to maintain fairness. Suzuhiko, the younger son, grew up constantly compared to his older brother, never feeling the warmth or love from his mother that he so desperately craved. Despite his success, the emotional scars of his childhood remain raw. His older brother, on the other hand, who was pampered and overly dependent on their mother, failed to achieve much in life. This stark contrast between the brothers creates a toxic undercurrent in their relationship. When their parents pass away, long-suppressed tensions explode, with each sibling blaming the other for the unfair treatment they experienced. Suzuhiko is filled with bitterness over the cold, distant treatment he endured, while his brother, despite being favored, feels the weight of unmet expectations. The family is left fractured, with resentment and unresolved conflicts lingering long after their parents are gone. This heartbreaking story is a reflection of the deep instability that can take root within a family when parents fail to maintain fairness and balance throughout their lives. Parental bias, favoritism, or neglect doesn't just affect the children at the moment. It reverberates through the family for years, often manifesting at the most critical times when parents are vulnerable and in need of their children's help. In old age, when parents can no longer care for themselves, these past imbalances in how they treat their children come to the surface, making it difficult to foster the kind of love, unity, and cooperation that is essential for elder care. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Emotions are inherently difficult to balance. No parent is perfect, and it's natural for relationships with children to fluctuate throughout life. But at the very least, parents must strive to create a sense of equilibrium, where each child feels valued, supported, and loved. Sadly, many parents come to this realization too late. It is only when they are physically weakened, unable to walk or care for themselves, that they begin to see the emotional toll their past actions have taken on the family. They regret not showing more fairness, not addressing conflicts, and not fostering an environment where all their children feel equally important. Instead of a family that pulls together in their time of need, they find themselves surrounded by emotional exhaustion and fractured relationships. When parents reflect on their later years, they often feel a sense of regret that their earlier choices depleted the emotional reserves within the family. Rather than being a source of love and energy, their actions led to disillusionment, bitterness, and the erosion of family unity. By the time parents need their children the most, the well of emotional support may have already run dry, leaving them to face their final years with a deep sense of sorrow and longing for what might have been. Ultimately, the changes parents experience in their relationships with their children as they age are a direct reflection of the seeds they planted in their children's hearts over the years. If those seeds were sown with love, fairness, and understanding, the harvest would be one of mutual care and support. But if those seeds were sown with bias, neglect, or unfairness, the harvest would bring only distance, resentment, and regret. Final words from the author. In the grand journey of life, it's easy to become so focused on the present that we forget to look ahead, to prepare ourselves for the inevitable shifts that come with aging. Midlife is not a time for complacency, but a time to think carefully about the future, about the days when our health may falter, about the moments when we might need to rely on others more than we'd like. We must face the reality that life doesn't stand still. It moves forward relentlessly, and in doing so, we must recognize that true peace in our later years comes not from avoiding these realities, but from preparing for them, emotionally, mentally, and relationally. There's a powerful story of a farmer, crushed by the weight of poverty, who, in his despair, cried out to God, "Why must I live my entire life with nothing?" In response, God offered him a tempting deal. "If you feel you have nothing, I will give you 10,000 gold pieces. But in return, I will take away your wife, your children, and the rest of your days." Faced with this harsh proposition, the farmer fell silent, struck by a deep realization. He didn't truly have nothing. He had everything that mattered: his family, his relationships, his time. He just hadn't seen their value until it was nearly taken from him. This story serves as a profound reminder that sometimes happiness is not in the distant dreams we chase, but in the blessings we already hold close. How often do we spend our lives yearning for more wealth, more success, more recognition, only to overlook the beauty of what's right in front of us? The people we love, the moments of peace, the small, seemingly insignificant things that bring us joy. True fulfillment doesn't come from a life of perfection, but from the gratitude we cultivate for the imperfect yet precious gifts we already possess. Whether we are young and ambitious, or older and reflecting on the paths we've walked, the key to contentment lies in appreciating the here and now. Life will always be filled with challenges, imperfections, and moments of doubt. But if we can learn to value what we have today, our families, our health, our time with loved ones, then we open ourselves up to real happiness, the kind that isn't dependent on chasing elusive dreams, but on treasuring what is already ours. As we move through the stages of life, the wisdom we gain should guide us toward a deeper understanding of what truly matters. Instead of seeking perfection or constantly striving for more, let us teach ourselves and future generations to embrace the value of the present. Only then can we find the lasting peace and happiness that comes from within, the kind that strengthens families, deepens relationships, and makes our days, no matter how long or short, truly meaningful. 3 methods to change fate and improve life. 1. Change your words. The way we communicate, especially within our family, has an immense impact on our lives. Speaking kindly to your children and using words that reflect love and patience can create an environment of harmony that lasts into old age. Words have the power to either build up or tear down, and as we grow older, nurturing gentle and understanding communication with our family becomes even more essential. When you choose to let go of anger and speak with kindness, it doesn't just soothe tensions at the moment. It creates a lasting foundation of respect and love that will carry your family through the challenges of life. 2. Change your mindset. Life rarely unfolds according to our expectations, especially when it comes to how others treat us. Instead of expecting everyone to treat you perfectly, find peace in knowing that if even one person cares about you, that is enough. Family dynamics shift over time, and not every relationship will remain balanced or free of conflict. But by releasing the need for everything to go perfectly and accepting life's imperfections with grace, you free yourself from bitterness. Holding on to grudges only deepens your pain. Learning to let go is the key to living with peace in your heart. 3. Change your relationships. As we age, it becomes more important than ever to actively maintain our relationships. Don't let pride or resentment create distance between you and the people around you. Reach out, nurture connections, and be willing to let go of your ego. By maintaining close ties with family, friends, and even neighbors, you increase the chances of receiving help and companionship when you need it most. A humble heart, willing to ask for and accept help, is a heart that will never feel alone. Next, I would like to share a small story that illustrates the challenges and lessons many of us can relate to. Yuko's experience is a poignant reminder of how family dynamics can evolve in unexpected ways. Yuko had an older brother, and for a while, she lived with her mother and grandfather at her brother's house. However, her mother often called Yuko, crying and complaining that her brother and his wife were not taking good care of her. The tension between Yuko's mother and her brother's wife escalated to the point where, feeling overwhelmed, her brother's wife decided to send their mother back to the family home. This forced Yuko to quit her job and return to her hometown to care for her aging mother. At first, Yuko did everything she could to care for her mother with love and patience. It is often said that daughters are more compassionate and sensible than sons, and Yuko certainly proved this to be true. She listened to her mother, prepared nutritious meals, gave her massages, and even slept beside her multiple times during the night to attend to her needs. But as time passed, a heartbreaking truth began to emerge. No matter how much Yuko sacrificed, her mother's behavior grew worse. Instead of appreciating Yuko's care, her mother began to criticize her, claiming that Yuko wasn't doing enough and even forbade her from contacting her husband and children. The situation became emotionally unbearable when Yuko discovered that her mother was bad-mouthing her to others, claiming that Yuko didn't love her. Despite all her efforts, Yuko's mother continued to cause tension in the family, creating a situation where no one was happy, neither Yuko nor her siblings. In her final years, Yuko's mother began to regret the way she had treated her sons and daughters-in-law, but by then, the damage to the family relationships had already been done. This story serves as a powerful lesson. Family harmony can only be maintained when we learn to communicate with love, let go of expectations, and take responsibility for our actions. In the end, Yuko's story is a reminder that changing our words, our mindset, and our relationships is essential for improving our lives and the lives of those we love. Holding on to pride, anger, or resentment only creates distance between us and our family. And the sooner we learn to release these feelings, the more likely we are to build meaningful, lasting bonds that will carry us through life's inevitable challenges. Elderly people and their relationships with children. As people age, the dynamic between parents and children often shifts, sometimes in ways that can feel bittersweet. Elderly individuals, especially when their health begins to decline, can become particularly anxious and sensitive about their changing abilities and the roles they once held in the family. The fear of losing independence, combined with the desire for attention and care from their children, creates a complex emotional landscape. On one hand, they long for connection and comfort, while on the other, they may feel a need to assert their independence or even distance themselves from their children, fearing they might become a burden. This emotional push and pull can lead to tension, especially if the elderly parents start speaking ill of their children to others, a behavior that, though perhaps born of frustration, only serves to widen the gap between them, reducing the children's willingness to spend time with their aging parents. Risa's story is a powerful example of the complexities of caregiving and the emotional toll it can take on both the parent and child. At 51, Risa had spent many years single-handedly caring for her mother, who had broken her leg several years ago. The injury, along with her mother's growing confusion, left Risa in a state of constant worry and vigilance. Her mother frequently mistook her for her younger brother, a heartbreaking reminder of the mental decline that sometimes accompanies aging. Yet despite this emotional hardship, Risa devoted herself completely to her mother's care. She prepared thoughtful, nutritious meals like minced meat and pasta every day, ensuring her mother was well-fed and comfortable. To provide peace of mind, she even installed security cameras throughout the home, checking her phone anxiously throughout the day to ensure her mother didn't fall or hurt herself while she was away. This level of caregiving didn't come without immense sacrifice. Risa quit her high-paying job to dedicate herself fully to her mother's needs, a decision that cost her not only her career but also her personal life. Over a decade, her marriage dissolved and several subsequent relationships ended due to the strain of caregiving. It's a tragic reality for many caregivers who find themselves caught between their deep sense of responsibility to care for ailing parents and their own need for a fulfilling life. Risa's love and dedication were undeniable, but the emotional cost she bore was heavy. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Ryu's story offers another perspective on the challenges of family caregiving. Ryu's mother had 5 children, yet it was Ryu who took on the primary role of caring for her. Her second sister, concerned for Ryu's future well-being, didn't want her to spend her entire life caring for their mother and suggested alternative solutions, such as taking their mother into her own home or placing her in a nursing facility. This suggestion came from a place of love and worry, as her second sister, at 70 years old herself, was already caring for her ailing husband and knew the immense burden caregiving could place on one's life. However, Ryu felt it was her responsibility as the youngest sibling to take care of their mother, particularly since she didn't feel as tied down by obligations to her daughter. For Ryu, this caregiving role felt like her purpose, a way to give back to the woman who had raised her. Her second sister, understanding this, ultimately agreed that Ryu was the most suitable to continue caring for their mother, though it was a bittersweet conclusion for both of them. These stories reflect the deep emotional complexity that comes with caregiving in old age. Elderly parents, while desiring care and attention, must also recognize the sacrifices their children make to support them. When tensions arise, as they often do, both parents and children need to foster open communication and understanding. For elderly parents, speaking ill of their children, out of frustration, disappointment, or a sense of helplessness, can only create further rifts, making it even harder for the children to offer the care they need. At the same time, children like Risa and Ryu must navigate the delicate balance of honoring their parents while also protecting their own emotional and mental well-being. In the end, these relationships require patience, empathy, and mutual respect. Parents should strive to appreciate the efforts their children make, while children need to set healthy boundaries to avoid burnout. Caregiving, when done with love and understanding, can deepen the bond between parent and child, but it requires ongoing emotional investment from both sides. As we reflect on the stories and lessons shared today, it's clear that relationships between elderly parents and their children are both beautiful and complex. From the sacrifices made by caregivers to the importance of communication and mutual respect, these experiences remind us how vital it is to foster understanding and empathy within our families. Now, We would love to hear from you. What have you learned so far from these stories and insights? Please share one thing you've learned and how you plan to bring it into practice in your own life. If you liked this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more heartfelt stories and valuable life lessons. Your support means the world to us, and we look forward to continuing this journey together.